Runnin' with the Devil, a rock and roll adventure. Part 21. What the hell, dude? Steven said, stepping away from Ricky. Yeah, what are you? 3. Derek asked, doing the same. Shut up, Derek. Ricky yelled, like you ain't never pissed yourself before. Yeah, I did. When I was a baby, Derek shot back. Fuck you, Derek. Ricky said, moving his hand off the door, balling them both into a fist, raising them in front of him, and stepping toward Derek. I had never known Ricky to be aggressive before. He was always laid back and mellow, but I guess dealing with the stress of being afraid can make even the most docile person flip like that. Anyway, the door began to slowly close. You want some? Derek said, balling his fists, raising them as well, and stepping toward Ricky. Let's dance, he said. The door, I yelled, don't let it close. Corey quickly stepped between Ricky and Derek, putting one hand on the almost closed door, pushing it back open, and the other positioned mere inches away from Derek's chest, in an attempt to hold him back. Both of you, he said loudly, looking back and forth between the two of them, knock this shit off. We don't fight. We rock and roll, man, then threw up the horns in between them. Steven, Tony, and I threw the horns up as well. Derek stared intensely at Ricky, as Ricky stared back at Derek. Guys, enough. Corey said louder. Derek then turned his eyes away from Ricky and onto Corey. He took a deep breath. You're right, dude, Derek said softly, unballing his fists, and dropping his hands to his sides. Yeah, man. You're right, Ricky said, as he unballed his fists, dropped his left arm, and extended his right hand to Derek. I'm sorry, dude, he said. I'm sorry too, dude, Derek said, extending his hand as well. This fucking house is fucking driving me fucking nuts. They both then shook hands and hugged like brothers. Hey, see if there's any clothes that'll fit you in that dresser over there, dude. If so, get changed and we can jam. Steven told Ricky. Ricky nodded his head, then walked over to the dresser, and sure enough, there were socks, underwear, sweatpants and t-shirts neatly folded separately in each of the 4 drawers. This works for me, Ricky said, grabbing a pair of sweatpants. I ain't wearing no one else's underwear, dude. That's just gross. I'll just go commando. We all just looked at him funny, as Ricky began to unbutton his jeans. Whoa, dude. Keep that Vienna sausage of yours to yourself, man. Go in the closet there and change. Corey said laughing, pointing to the closet. Oh, yeah, Ricky replied, and walked toward the closet. He then put his hand on the doorknob. Come on guys, let's rock and roll, Derek said, throwing up the horns, and when you get done changing, come join in, dude, he said to Ricky. We all agreed, and began to walk into the room. We gotta keep this door open, so Ricky can get in, or it will disappear behind us, leaving Ricky alone in there, and it might not be the same room that it opens up to when he opens it again. I said. Now, I know what you're thinking, the door disappears when you close it, so how would Ricky be able to open it again? Well, you're right. The door would most likely disappear when we completely entered the room and it closed behind us. I assumed it would stay where it was in the bedroom. Maybe I was wrong, but it's better to be safe than sorry, right? Anyway, good thinking, Mike. Tony said, I'll grab the beers off the bed to hold it open. Good call, dude, I replied. Steven, Corey, and Derek took their places, as Tony made several trips, back and forth, to get all the beer, and luckily, they did hold the door open. Ricky was still standing there with his hand on the doorknob, watching what was going on. Hurry up, dude. Let's rock. I told Ricky and went to get my guitar. Tony just stood there in front of us, smiling, as we all plugged in. I ain't never been to a concert before. Stacy wouldn't let me. I don't miss her at all, he said. Who the fuck is Stacy? Is she cute? Derek asked. Well, she was. And psychotic. She was Tony's sister. Bob disintegrated her, and she's now spending eternity burning in hell. I told you all this before. Derek just stared at me. Steven then began to count it off, hitting his drumsticks together. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, he began. Suddenly, we heard Ricky yell from the bedroom, hey, guys, come here. Check this out. Derek and I put our guitars down, as Steven stepped from behind the drum kit, and Corey from behind the microphone. We all then began jogging toward the door, with Tony close behind. What now, dude? Steven said as we re-entered the bedroom, careful not to knock the beer over. Ricky was standing there, holding the closet door open, with his jeans around his ankles, and his tighty-whitey underwear stained yellow in the front. Dude, what the fuck? Derek said, covering his eyes. Look, dude, not at me. In there, Ricky said, and pointed in the closet. We all then turned to look, and what we saw left us with an extremely difficult decision to make. Well, not really. What we saw, when we looked through the doorway of the closet, was Bob standing there beside our bus, as in, outside of the house. He was waving at us, as the cool midday air floated slowly into the room. How is that fucking possible? Derek asked. It's just a closet, it doesn't lead anywhere. Yes, it does, dude. The door leads to a closet, which is technically a room. 4 walls makes a room, I replied. Now, any normal person, working a normal job, living a normal life, would have immediately ran, as fast as they could, out of that godforsaken house. Right? But if you play in a band, or play any musical instruments, or have any form of musical talent, then you know that nothing, and I mean nothing, not your significant other, not your job, not even escaping a creepy, most likely demonic, shape-shifting house from hell, nothing is going to come between you and the opportunity to perform. Am I right? Anyway, we all just stood there staring at each other. I could see the wheels, metaphorically speaking that is, turning inside their heads, as well as felt them in mine. What are we waiting for? Let's get the hell out of here, Tony said. You don't understand, man. Derek replied. Now, if you remember, Tony did play the accordion, like Weird Al, so he had some musical talent. But, I guess it was more of a hobby to him, not a need, as he didn't even bring it up. Anyway, so, what's it gonna be, guys? Derek asked, knowing the answer already. We all turned our heads to look at each other individually, grinning that you-know-it grin, took a deep breath, and screamed in unison, rock and roll, throwing up the horns. Tony just stood there. Hey, Tony. Grab that nightstand and use it to hold open the closet door, I said. Okay, Mike, Tony replied. Fuck it, dude. Bob put us in this fucked up fucking house, he can fucking wait until we're done. Come on, Derek said, running back into the room with our gear and grabbing his bass. We all ran in after him. Well, not Ricky. I grabbed my guitar, put the strap over my shoulder, turned around and saw Ricky scurrying along with his jeans still around his ankles. What a sight that was. Dude, go get changed, I yelled, as the rest of the guys took their places, and Tony stood in front of us. Where? Ricky said. You know what? Fuck this shit. Everybody turn around and face the wall. I'm changing right here. If you don't wanna see it, don't look, as he began to remove his underwear right in front of us. Dude, we all said disgustedly in unison, and quickly turned to face the wall. After a few seconds, we heard the sound of what I can only assume was Ricky's jeans and underwear hitting the floor in the corner. Ricky then said, okay, guys, I'm ready. But what are we gonna play? As he walked past us and picked up his guitar. We all then turned around. Let's just jam, dude, Derek said. As much as I'd love to, Derek, we can't. We gotta learn the songs we recorded to get ready for the tour, I said. I can't remember what we played, he responded. Me either, not a thing. I think I remember a word or two, they all said. I remembered everything. It was at that moment that I knew I needed to use my gift, if this was going to work. I turned around, covering my mouth with my hand, and said whispering, I want all the guys to know all the parts to all the songs we recorded in Bob's studio. Did you say something, Mikey? Ricky asked. I was just saying how I could really use a cup of coffee right now, man. That's all, I replied. Oh, okay, Ricky said, nodding his head. All we can do is try, right? I said to the guys. Let's do, Feed the Fire. That's the title of another song I wrote. All right, dude. Count it off, Steven, Derek said. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, Steven called out. We played Feed the Fire perfectly. When we finished, all the guys were in complete shock, looking around like they couldn't believe what just happened. How the fuck? Derek began to say. Don't worry about it, man, I said. Let's do Until All Your Tears Are Gone. That one's a power ballad, but it still rocks, sort of. We played that one perfectly too. As we played, Tony was smiling, throwing his fists in the air, and headbanging, like he was at an actual concert. It was great. Anyway, Derek didn't question me after that one. He just stood there smiling, as did the rest of the guys. I then called out the remaining 13 songs we recorded, playing each one perfectly in between the callouts. We were all breathing heavy and sweating profusely by the time we finished playing the last song, including Tony. Dude, I don't know how we did it, and I don't wanna know. But we tore that mother up. Rock and roll, Derek said excitedly. We all then celebrated by high-fiving inside, hugging each other, and Tony. I need a beer, Derek said, wiping the sweat off his brow. Grab me one, I'll take one, me two, me three, the rest of the guys said, as Derek walked over to where the beer was. We watched as Derek bent down and picked up the first beer, then we went back to celebrating. Suddenly we heard, boys, boys. I am so glad to hear that you have learned all the material needed to perform at your very first live performance. We all looked in the direction of the sound, to see Bob standing there, and Derek standing in front of him. I was pissed. What the fuck is going on, Bob? You put us in this fuck. I began screaming and walking purposely toward Bob. Bob then snapped his fingers, and I was frozen in place, without the ability to speak. I could hear myself saying the words in my head, but nothing came out of my mouth. I could feel myself trying to move, but I couldn't. My hearing was not affected at all. Easy there, Mr. Hardsell. Remember who you're talking to, Bob said. He then looked at Ricky. Holy hell, son. What are you wearing? They do look quite comfortable though. They are, Bob. But, it's a long story. I really don't want to talk about it, Ricky answered. Very well. Our time today is limited, so perhaps a story for another time, Bob asked. Okay, Ricky answered. He then looked back at me. I like you, Mr. Hardsell. I really do. So, I will return your speech, and your ability to move. But, I highly advise you to keep your distance, and watch your mouth when speaking to me, from this day forward. Do you understand? He asked. I couldn't answer him. After a few seconds, Bob said, You're a smart boy. I'm sure you understand. Bob then snapped his fingers once again. Now, when Bob froze me, I was in half stride, leaving my left leg suspended in midair. When he unfroze me, I guess it caught me off guard, my foot landed wrong, and I fell face first to the floor. The guys just looked at me, as I got up, dusted myself off, and stood there, still pissed. But, I understand, is all I said. Now, unless the rest of you want to lose your ability to utilize any of your basic motor skills, you will shut your mouth and listen. This has all been a game, my dear boys. It's something I do to entertain myself, at your expense, of course. I have had my fun watching you all squirm, trying to figure a way out of this lovely mansion, and yes, you are correct Mr. Hardsell, it is a process of elimination. The first 3 doors do not disappear to give the contestants a false sense of security. And then the fun begins, watching the chaos that ensues. But sadly, all good things must come to an end, when the contestants get to the last room, open the last door, and step out of this house. Derek opened his mouth and began to say something, but Bob quickly raised his finger, and pointed it at him. Derek shut his mouth quickly. Bob then continued, How it broke my little demon heart. Just kidding. I am the devil. I don't have a heart. He then laughed devilishly. Oh. I crack myself up sometimes, he said. Anyway, I was deeply saddened when I realized that I had to cut this particularly interesting game short, which is why you saw me, instead of a random room, when you looked into the closet. You see, boys, I have some very exciting news. Remember how I said that time works differently in hell, and yes, you are in hell. Once you entered the conservatory door, which was actually a portal to hell, the game had begun. The closet doorway was also a portal, leading back to the real world, but can also be used to enter this house, which is how I got in here. That one is not part of the game. I only created it today, to let you out, so I could tell you this exciting news. But when I saw you choose your little rehearsal over escape, I knew I had chosen the right band to help me execute my plan. Oh holy hell, I'm babbling again. What I mean to say boys is that you have been scrambling around this house for roughly 1.5 hours, hell time. But you have been in here for over 4 months, human time. Your album was released this week, again human time, and has done quite well, exceeding all my expectations, given the fact that you're a new artist and all. He actually used his fingers to make air quotes when he said new artist. It has been certified platinum by the Recording Industry Association of America, or RIAA, for short. Your album has sold well over 1 million copies, and is closing in on multi-platinum at lightning speed, in just 4 days. That is nearly unheard of, especially from a small independent label, such as Hellfire Records. I had to add a few additional shows onto your existing tour schedule. Don't worry boys, it does not exceed the 8 months that you all agreed to, when you signed your recording contract. I would very much enjoy telling you all the details right here, right now, but I am afraid we must be going. You won't need those warm, nasty beers, my dear boy, Bob said to Derek, who by this time, had stepped back, joining the rest of us. There are plenty of ice-cold beers where we are going. Come now, boys. We have a plane to catch. Your tour starts tomorrow. Human time that is.